Good day. We're here on Lasqueti Island, Gulf Islands of Canada, and we are looking at we're harvesting our sweet potatoes today. And so I thought I'd tell you how it was that we grow them. This is our third year growing sweet potatoes on the Gulf Islands. We have good results. You can see the patch here, and there's a nice one we just grew. You can see they can have a good size to them, quite decent, right? They don't always not all of them color up to a good color, but many do. It depends on the year. This is a pretty good year. This is a nice one, right? And you can see how many you get. We get roughly yields equivalent to potato yields, I would say. So you're looking at 5 pounds per plant. A really good year, you could get 10 pounds per plant, but you need some heat. Sweet potatoes, yams are all about heat. Sweet potatoes and yams are the same thing. We've grown a number of different varieties. A Japanese yam, Beauregard is a pretty good one. But the one that seems to be most reliable in this climate is Georgia Jet. That's what those are, light purple skin, orange flesh, and the earliest season of all, and they seem to tolerate the lower heat levels of Canada better than most varieties. You can try others. There's some interesting mountain yams that we're trying. They're all white that can even overwinter. But these don't overwinter. What we do to plant these is in the spring we buy cuttings from both Vessey's, but the better place is Maple Farms. If they have any, that is a great place to get your cuttings. The cuttings come very much like these, the growing ends here. By the way, the foliage is edible. Tastes a bit like corn salad. So what you do is take a cutting about this sort of 8 to 10 inches long, trim off the lower branches, and stick that in water. Okay, so this is what shows up in your mail, more or less, something like this with a bit smaller leaves. And as soon as we get them in the spring, we usually get them from Maple Farms around the 1st of May. We stick them in water for 5 days. You want nice, decent roots coming out. And then as soon as you see good long roots coming out of the sides, and about 5 days is the most they should be in water. You don't want them to rot. You don't want to use chlorinated water. You stick them in potting soil, or a heavy potting soil is nice, or really push it down. You don't want any air spaces. They don't like air spaces. Water them well. Do not let them dry out. The roots start out small, right, and you don't want to have them dry out. But once they start growing, and you can grow them in on your windowsill or a greenhouse, the warmest place you can give them, really. Once they start growing a good root ball, the tops will start growing quite vigorously, and it's time to put them in the ground. It's nice to put them in when it's warm, and so if you're getting them May 1st, anytime after May 24th is believable. I put them in 4-inch pots. So around usually the first week of June is when I actually put them in the ground. That's what I did here. We put them in a they're not really a heavy feeder. Decent soil. Doesn't have to be overwhelmingly good. A decent layer of compost over the top. I like just a general fertilizer mix of some lime, some seed meal, some rock phosphate or bone meal, and some wood ashes or potash, or I shouldn't say potash, green sand. And then, very important, you got to put something over top the soil. The soil has to be warm. The tops are okay out in the weather, but the soil has to be warm. You can do it one of two ways. This is IRT, that's what we use, and we lay it over this prepared soil, and then cut holes in the plastic large enough to stick this with the root ball into the hole. Okay? When you first plant it, and it'll have a bit of soil there because it's coming out of a pot. You want to, still, it doesn't have a large root ball compared to these plants out here. Water it every day until it's established, right? And this IRT, which I like, heats the soil and prevents weed growth underneath. It blocks the wavelengths of light that the weeds need to grow. You can have the same effect, if you can't get IRT, you can have the same effect using clear plastic and layer on about 2 inches of peat moss underneath the clear plastic. The 2 inches of peat moss will suppress the weeds and insulate the plants from the quite hot conditions that you're going to produce by putting clear plastic on soil. And that'll be sufficiently warm to keep the to give them a really good start in June. Excuse me. At some point, of course, the foliage is going to grow so thick, as you can see, that it's going to cover up the IRT or the clear plastic and diminish the effect of the warming. That's life. It's okay. It has to be warm from the day you plant them to you know, end of July. And it will be if you layer something on the soil. If you don't do that, you're not going to get much of a crop. That's the single most important thing. You have to have warm soil, and that's one of 2 ways to do it. Then, you know, you can steal the odd sweet potato in September. A lot of them will probably be sort of a creamy color, not orange. They color up sometime in September. And there's a sweet potato fan. That's about it. We dig them up usually in October. You can see we're in the process, and you'll have a good crop. It's really worthwhile growing these things. And like I said, if you wanted to, you could propagate them yourself through cuttings. You got to take a cutting like this, soak it in water for 5 days, get some roots happening, stick that in a pot, and keep it warm. Plus 10, we're talking. You don't want to go below plus 10 the whole winter. And grow them inside. And they will get to quite a large plant, take more cuttings off that in the spring, and you won't have to buy the cuttings. So that's, if you've got the warmth in your house. I don't. We don't have power like that here. But if you have the warmth like that in your house, you could do that in your windowsill or, of course, in a greenhouse and grow your own cuttings. As with all cloning, there's some errors that will accumulate over time. So you probably want to get new cuttings every